What's up? Stream check. What's up, folks? Welcome to our stream after a super long time. Excited to be here. Give me one sec as I just set this up. But before, as I do that, let's go in the chat. Let's do some quick shout outs. Okay. What's up, Ananya, Siddharth? I feel like doing some UI changes on the go. So I'm going to say, I'm going to change the background of this. I'm going to change the. What's up, folks? How's it going? All right, there we go. What's up, Jaspreet? Yo, Anhad, what's up? Devanshi, hey. What's up, Bhavya? Hey, Rida. Funny, what's up, Suhit? Welcome. What's up, Rahul and Abhinav? Enjoy. What's up, everyone? Quick shout outs to all of you. Welcome to the stream. Tonight, we have some super interesting stuff, but before we do that, I want to quickly show you. Can you guess where I am, guys? Can you guess where I am right now? So the last stream we did was maybe a few months back, and that was from my home office in Copenhagen. This stream, far from the home office, we're in the office, the 10K designers office, and maybe I can show you guys. Okay, so let me show you guys something. Okay, I'm in a big room, exactly. Tiny big room. Big room. This is a very special stream for me because this is my first stream after moving back to. Yeah, audio was gone because my mic was here. Don't worry about it, guys. This is a special stream for me because this is the first one since I permanently moved back to Bangalore. I've spent the last 4 years living in Copenhagen, working remotely, building 10K designers. And you know what? I decided it was time for a change. 4 years in Europe, really cool place. Bit extreme on the weather, way less happening, like less stuff happening compared to, let's say, India or even Bangalore, but very peaceful. However, 4 years in, you know, it was time to jump in. And, we're going to be talking about this today. I don't want to make it totally about myself, right? But this, I have some interesting stuff to talk about, which is the pain and the pleasure of change. All right, that's a little bit our topic for today. But let me, in the meanwhile, Bangalore HSR layout, location doxed. Yeah, we are in HSR layout, which you know ought to be called hue, saturation, resolution layout. Very designer place to be. In fact, I found this out a bit later, which is HSR layout. I have no way to verify this, but HSR layout has got the highest density of 10K designers alumni in one place. But then I realized, wait, that probably means it also probably has the highest density of designers in Bangalore, right? Like the core startup areas today in Bangalore, not so much Indranagar, unless it's talking about cred. Koramangala used to be hot. Swiggy, Flipkart, all these startups started in Koramangala. A bit crowded right now. HSR layout, though, it's the place to be. A lot of early stage startups here. There's Guys, there's literally streets in HSR layout where I walk around and I'm like, yo, I feel like I'm in the Y Combinator directory, startup directory or something, because I'll see all these logos on office buildings and I'll be like, yo, I've seen this somewhere. And then I'll be like, oh, yeah, okay, they were in YC's last batch. Oh, I've seen this somewhere. Oh, yeah, I remember seeing them on your story. They've raised some money. Oh, I've seen this somewhere. Oh, that's AirTribe. That's literally AirTribe's office, right? I'll be like, oh, I didn't know these guys. Anyway, point being, HSR, cool place to be. And yes, that is where I am right now. We we did our first physical event as well. We did this co-working Saturday here. One of my also hopes is we is for this studio or this office to kind of become a community hub. This kind of maybe become a kind of a designer clubhouse. Although we just moved in like maybe less than 2 months ago, right, into this place. So bunch of stuff to do before we get there. 10K HQ, yes, we are in the 10K HQ, guys. you know, kind of a big milestone for me, which is I've never actually had my own office. Right? Of course, I've had a home office, I've had my workspace and all this, but this is the first time I have an office, right? Like a design studio vibes. And so being able to design for physical space, expensive as fuck, but also really fun. And I've got to realize that this is not like designing on a screen where you just like and just try iterations and then just make things happen. Like in the physical world, things take a bit slower. All right, it's a bit slower to do stuff. Um, but yeah. Okay, folks, are we ready to jump in today's topics? I know we're just chatting right now, and miss doing streams. Are we ready to jump in? Viraj says increase the mic. Okay, I just increased the gain. Should be much better now. Let me know. But now everybody will have to adjust their volume settings. What's up, Dhaval? What's up, folks? We're about to get started. Welcome back. Thank you. Abhinav in a flow. Yeah, man. It's hard getting back into flow, but I think I'm close. Why I left Europe? I'll talk about that. Okay, maybe not in this video, but I'll just tell you this, right? The topic for today I have written here. It's the pain and the pleasure of change. change, like something changing, super interesting. So let's zoom back in time for a sec. 2020, we all remember it kind of as the COVID year, but 2020, I had a massive change at the start of the year, which was I quit my job at an academy. Now, massive change because, you're giving up a stable salary. There's a proper office with my entire team that I'd slowly hired over the course of 2.5 years. It was a difficult change also because, leaving a certain thing for something that's uncertain, which is like doing a startup or going and doing my own thing. That was a big change that happened 2020, Jan. But then a big change that all of us also went through was COVID. We're not going to talk about that. And then in December 2020, the change was I moved to Copenhagen. Now, you guys have, of course, I've been making videos on and off during that time. But change is exciting, right? The pleasure of change is the pleasure of change is the possibilities. What's possible that I haven't considered? What are the things that I'm going to run into that I have no clue about that I'm just going to, you know, get to experience for the first time? The pleasure of doing something for the first time ever. I'm 31 right now, and for me, at least, let's say in my design career, a lot of these firsts, like for example, first app, first website, first time client fuck up, first time hitting certain financial milestones, like a lot of those first happened in my 20s, right? um, so for me, the reason Europe seemed exciting in 2020 was because there was a straightforward path for me to go, right? My uh, girlfriend at the time, and then we got married, Ghana, she got a job in Europe. And so it was a bit of a clear path for me to go. And the pleasure of change is that, hey, what are the possibilities? You get to experience a new environment. New environment also means new influences, right? What's an influence? The environment we're in, it has a certain impact on us. A lot of it is invisible, but going into a new environment that you have no clue about, you also have no clue about what the influence of that environment is going to be, right? And it's probably going to be a bunch of positives, but also a lot of negative stuff that you have to adjust to. Okay. And, I'm going to switch into this right here. Mm, let's see. Double. Let me set up my iPad right here. Give me a sec. Just setting this up. Mm. Let's take a look at this. Okay. Get into iPad mode for a sec. Let's assume for now, okay, that we're here. We're here right now. In fact, those of you who are watching the stream, you're here right now in the same moment, right? Synchronous. We're synced right now. There is a certain future that we can kind of vaguely imagine, right? I know a bunch of you, for example, are in a position like some of the things we're going to be talking about today, transitioning to design roles, a little bit about selecting the right design job opportunities, right? Transitioning to an even better paying role, maybe. We're also going to talk about um, what it means to not settle for less, even when things are uncertain, even when the safer option. But where we start is I'm sure a lot of you have seen roadmap videos, right? Uh, the reality of roadmaps. Now we're pretty accustomed to like, hey, get an Uber, point A, we go to point B, right? So, well, imagining the future, it's possible to think like, hey, we're now, and then there is some future. Like, I want to get a better job. I want to become a designer. I want to become a higher paying designer. I want to learn certain skills. I want to work with better people. You're imagining this future, and this future, overall, what it represents, it's change. And This future, unlike, getting an Uber point A to point B, is usually something like this. It's uncertain. You're going to have a lot of false starts. You're going to have a lot of loops. And to be very honest with you guys, okay, if I can be so real with you guys, 100% I decided, me and Ghana, we decided to quit, or rather, she quit her job, and we both of us decided to move back to India. And there was a solid thesis behind this, right? Personally, for me, um, Europe was awesome, but running a company, hard. And after a while, I realized that the kind of stuff I wanted to do, I could only do it in India. Now, I'm talking about all this change and this abstract diagram and all this stuff, but it's uncertain, right? And one thing I realized at a very deep level is change is not, hey, there's something going on, let's stop this, let's transition. Like, hey, I'm in Copenhagen, let's move to Bangalore. Or, hey, I'm working as a software developer, I'm in college and I want to make a transition to design. Or I'm in a certain role and then, woo, let's switch to a different role. Now, it might sound obvious what I'm about to say, but guys, I realized how fucking hard change is. And change is, you have a certain thing that's going, you have to crash it. You have to crash it entirely, take the pieces and rebuild into this image of what you want it to be. Okay. And I don't know if I'm being too abstract. Let me just say, it's been 3 months since I moved back. Difficult as fuck. Really fucking difficult. Okay. But it's something I really wanted. And now that it's all happening, super excited about it. Okay. But I see a question from Siddharth. Okay. How do you motivate yourself even when times are uncertain? Now, guys, I don't want to give you gyan, okay? Like, I mean, who the hell am I to give you gyan? I am a designer just like you, figuring things out, right? Even though I might have a little bit experience and all this, let me just say, making stuff happen is a daily process. Like, you have to wake up and you have to be like, fuck, today I need to change something. I need to make these things. I need to, from last, I have a to-do list pending from a couple days. I need to finish that. Oh, this uncertain thing just came in and I now need to deal with this random thing. And then, oh, I want to build a certain future. And so I need to figure out the bridge to that future, right? But how do you keep motivating yourself when times are uncertain? Times are always uncertain. And um, I don't know, I don't have a good answer, but hopefully, as we go through this video, I'm going to switch back to iPad mode. Hopefully, you should have a good picture of this as we go through, right? But in classic designer fashion, you know, to actually be actionable, I want to show you guys. Okay, let's do this. I want to show you guys how do you visualize, okay? And what we're going to do right after this is we're going to look at certain scenarios. The first scenario though, okay, doing live design edits on stream. Let's increase the spacing on the left, guys. Huh? Okay, that's good. All right. I'm going to jump right in, okay? The things I'm going to be talking about. Number one, we're talking about transitions. We're talking about change. Um, the reality of roadmaps is life is not a linear path, right? It's all of these changes. It's all of these loops. It's all of these, you know, like losing motivation. It's all of these, you think you're headed somewhere, but then you have a break in motivation. Like something happens and it's like, boom. And then when you restart it, you have to start over, or you have to be like, oh, I got to get myself in the zone again. Um, but what keeps us going? really what keeps us going. I'll tell you what keeps me going. It's that if you think, I need to switch to impact for this one. To answer this question, how do you keep motivating yourself? I don't have a solution, right? It's really difficult for me too, a lot of times. But something I realized is if you think change is risky, then wait till you find out about the cost of not changing. And that's a realization that I came face to face with, right? What is the cost of not changing? What is the cost of everything being the same? Because, hey, change is kind of a scary thing, right? It's uncertainty. Like, even if you want to do something new, a lot of times, like, wait, fuck, I'll have to stop doing what I'm doing right now. Who knows how that's going to go? And then I'm going to have to start something else. If you think change is risky, wait till you find out about the cost of not changing. Kind of a boom moment for me, right? When kind of realized this. And I realized I needed to change something. Like, I, the environment that I was in, Copenhagen, it was peaceful, but it was not the environment I wanted to be. And I did not have the influence of the environment that I was hoping for, right? Somehow over the last 4 years, I became a very peaceful, relaxed, more like grounded person. But I found myself losing the hunger to do stuff. I was just like, क्या ज़रूरत है? Why do I need to do this? क्यों करना है? Right? And a lot, I'll just say it's comfy as fuck, right? Europe, comfy as fuck, this place. And I found myself becoming this kind of person. I was like, why do it? Isn't this good? What's wrong with my life? I've got this. Why to do that? Kyun karna? And then at one day it just hit me. I'm like, yo, all these memes about Europe, which I've been seeing on Twitter and just you come across where it's like, oh, it's a nice, relaxing place. It's true, but what's the cost of not changing? It comes at a massive cost. And big realization, right? So for me, that's what happened. There was definitely this pleasure of changing, but then there was also this pain. And, we'll move forward. I just wanted to, one thing I want to talk about now is just visualizing the future, right? Of course, it's uncertain. Of course, not a straight line. You have to go through these loops. But the kind of other realization here is, hey, we can also imagine the past in a very similar way, right? We can think of the past as like the straight line. We're just drawing, connecting the dots. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. But there was a time when, you know, let's imagine the other scenario, which is we are here right now. We are in the future. Right now, we're in the future. When we're looking back at, yo, I was in school and I was like, I thought I would be a podcaster or some shit, right? Things might not have worked out, but then there was then I thought, I was in school and I thought I'll be on roadies and I thought I'll launch my influencer career with road. I'm kind of kidding, but yeah, I did think that at some point. Okay. And looking back, being here, it was not a straight line. It was not guaranteed, but I did go through that shit. We did go through these loops and we're here right now. Okay. So guys, the topic I want to start with, the first one, right, that was a little bit of overview, setting things up. I want to talk about a very actionable, very like straightforward topic. Okay. How to transition to design. Transition from how to transition to design with a 9 to 5 job or from college. And the reason I put all that stuff in the forward is there's a few things I want to talk about today. Okay. And I'm going to break this in a very systematic way. We right now are doing a whiteboarding exercise. I'm going to break some things down. But real quick, a quick check in the chat. How many of you in this scenario? Because I have a few scenarios I want to go through. We're going to do some whiteboarding. Inputs. What do you need? Inputs. What do you need? Milestones. How do you know you're making progress? What are the beliefs that make you more creative? How do you know that you have the right mindsets to be in a creative career? And how do you build it? The move, the big move, the small move, the move, right? The transition. What does it look like? And what are the paths available? The network. What, who do I need to know? Who would it be useful to know? Who are people on a very similar journey that, we can have a mutual exchange with, that I can learn stuff from, and, they can teach me something. And maybe in return, I can tell them a little bit about my side of things. Maybe we can learn something together. Or people that can help me see the world that I don't have access to yet. Or, you know, a squad that I can build this with. And overall, what this kind of leads to is your first paycheck. Cha-ching! The first paycheck as a designer, right? A big one. Now, the way I want you guys to imagine this, since we're doing whiteboarding, is this is me right here, or this is you right here. A small side note, the reason stick figures work so awesome in comics and things like that is because they don't have a face and you can kind of visualize yourself as the person, right? Power of abstraction, an abstract view of it. Point being, this is you. There is a certain invisible thing that I'll say environment. There is the environment. Now, I don't know how to draw an environment, right? So it could be the, let's see, let's draw this out. There's a certain environment, and the objects in this environment, the people in this environment, oh, you can't even see that. Opacity change. Guys, I wanted to be a cartoonist. Talking about what I wanted to do when I was younger, and I was like, what do I want to do in the future? I was like, wouldn't it be great to make cartoons? I want to, and later realized it's called illustrations a bit too late. But there's a certain environment, okay? There's other people in this environment. There's, certain objects in this environment that, kind of have this. I'll get to what the point is, okay? There's a certain environment. Now, there are certain unspoken rules of the environment. So, how things, like, let's just say the social code, okay? But point I'm trying to make is all this stuff, this environment has an effect, right? So, this environment has influence on you. People, the people you meet, have an influence. Me in Copenhagen, I realized that the person I was, right, in my design journey, I was that way because somehow the environment, either went out and found this environment or happened to be in it, Bangalore, or in college in Manipal. The environment had a huge effect on me. I met a lot of people who were so interesting doing cool stuff that I wanted to match up to what they were doing. And that influence kind of pushed me forward. And then there was a time when I found myself in a totally different environment sometime in the future, in, let's say Europe. And I was like, yo, to be very real with you, one of the reasons I moved back is am I shy or am I just not able to say it? Guys, one of the reasons I moved back is because work is super important to me, right? And I won't call it career or something, but personally for me, I really found myself in a place where it was a bad environmental effect. And let's cut my story for a bit, right? Let's get back to the scenario here. The inputs that you're receiving, the inputs that you receive, right? The people you spend time with, your parents, they are a certain way. That is a huge influence on you. The milestones help you keep track. The creativity, which is you creating, and like the whole, creating something means changing something, right? You create something new, something changes. As designers, we're in the business of change. Everything we design changes something to an extent, right? And I don't even mean second order consequences like changing the world eventually, right? I'm saying you create something and now this thing that didn't exist before becomes a part of the environment, and it has an influence on the other people in that environment, right? And when things change, it disrupts like the things that you thought were there, the things that you've grown used to, or the things that you learned a certain way of operating and now the whole variables have changed. um, I would say a lot of creativity is figuring out how do you deal with change. It's not easy. We assume, there is a certain pleasure of things changing. It keeps you stimulated, it keeps you motivated. The question Siddharth had asked earlier in the chat, how do you keep yourself motivated? The answer to a, how do I, black background. Okay. How do you keep yourself motivated? A very simple way to stay motivated is to change things, right? To change your environment, to actually go to a coffee shop and work one day, and then you overhear a conversation and you're like, bro, people are doing some crazy shit, huh? Or you overhear something else and you're like, bro, I don't want to end up in that scenario, like, being pitched an MLM or some shit, or like, marriage, this thing, losing track. Okay. So, guys, eventually there is something which is the jump. Along the way you find people who influence you, and then eventually, of course, the goal of transitioning to design is your first job, right? So, folks, you with me so far? With me so far? Exciting, interesting? Because I'm going to change. Okay, I'm going to change, move a little forward. The inputs that you need to make things happen, okay, there are the skills that you need to learn, there are the tools that you need to get better at, and there is the time that you need to invest. Okay, I'm going to connect all these pieces, but right now let's talk about the individual pieces. Okay, stay with me. Okay, the inputs that you need to make a change happen: skills, tools, time. Okay, milestones. Now a big milestone for me, of course, is related to the above, but if you want to become a designer, you got to know Figma, right? Like straight up the simple answer, you got to know Figma. Like seriously, you got to know Figma. And then once you know that, it's not enough to just know it, right? There's no point. You have to apply it to projects. We're going to go through each of these. And you know what? I don't want to get crowded. Let's use up some more space here. Skills, tools, time. Folks, tools, Figma, right? Your core tool as a designer, of course, Figma. Now, some of you, of course, are already past this stage. So beyond that, it's about, um, let me draw this out here first. Okay. So inputs, milestones, creative mindset. These things right here, right? So once the first tool you need to learn, of course, as a designer, Figma, right? Just get used to it. It's a canvas based tool, a canvas pretty much like this. I'm placing stuff, just way more structured than this, which is an open notebook. But if you already know Figma, the rest is what kind of projects you want to do, or what kind of um, change that you want to create. So, for example, a very simple one is what motivated me to learn Photoshop for the very first time, right? Figma didn't exist. This was like 10 years ago or something. What motivated me is I wanted to change my Facebook header. You know, the heading picture on Facebook, I wanted to change it. And so I was like, how do I change it? I was like, okay, I want to make something. So then I was like, okay, let me think about what to make. And then I was like, okay, I thought about it. Now, how do thinking is not enough. How do I change it? And then I realized I needed to use my time to learn, to make, and then to change. And then I changed it. And then I realized, hey, that's not all what I want to change. I want to do some projects. And then for these projects, I need to learn these tools. And the more tools that I was learning, the more my skills were going up, which is, hey, a I could make a profile picture, I could make a header. Right? I started with like very basic stuff, right? Mostly because this basic stuff was fun for me. 10 years ago, like I wasn't really thinking about let's make an app. Little bit, but I was more thinking about let's make something that people can see, that people can use. Right. So I was like, okay, I want to make a t-shirt design. I want to I want to actually print a t-shirt with something that I design on it. And then I'll wear it and then I'll print another one for my friends. So my skills, my ability to do stuff went up. In terms of milestones though, right? Let's go very specific now for a sec. I know I was going a bit general. You want to specifically get into things like UI UX design, right? That's a little bit about what this channel focuses on. Some of the milestones you need to hit is get comfy with Figma. All right. Number one. Number two, make things. What do you make? See, don't make things that you heard somebody like. Don't just make like. Of course, you can go and design an app, design a website, but unless you're really interested in doing that, I don't want you to half-ass. Okay, don't half-ass things. Make things you're super interested in, right? So if you're like, yo, I want to put some stickers on my laptop and I want to design something. Okay, let's say you want to do that. You go learn the tools, learn enough to do it, go get it printed, right? It's very easy to print t-shirts, stickers, things like that these days, and then make it happen, right? I see a comment which is, how do self-learners stop themselves from getting demotivated? Staying consistent while doing things by yourself is fucking hard. Yeah, it is. And you know what that is? A lot of that is your environment, the influence it has on you is a negative one. Guys, like there were times where I just don't have a good desk with a quiet space to sit down and just spend 2 hours, 3 hours designing. That's a bad environment, right? So my suggestion, if you find yourself getting demotivated, uh, don't just reach for the first motivation book. You can watch stuff online, it helps you, but really, if you're not motivated, very likely, high chance, it's an environmental issue. Okay. And beyond that, beyond, let's say your environment is okay. A lot of times you don't know whether it's okay or not. You have to change things to see, could it be better? There are certain people who are like damn negative about stuff. They're like, bro, why do you do this? Become a developer, bro. Go sit for placements, bro. Like, that's a negative influence, right? And sometimes their voice is running in your head, and you're like, yo, like it's distracting. Okay. Some milestones though. Um, what are we talking about? Transitioning to design, whether that's in a brand new role or whether you want to become more creative, right? Whatever that output is for you, a job, freelancing. We'll talk about those paths in a bit. Make things, and then you gotta share it with people. This is a core part of stuff, right? Share it with people. Oh, some dope comments here. I'll take a break in a bit, okay? Shared with people. Now, ideally, you want to share with people who don't bring you down, being like, bro, kya kar raha hai, and all this. You want to share with people who are also excited. So I'm going to add in brackets here that you're excited about. Okay? Make things that you're excited about. And then figure out the tools later, right? I think a lot of people, one common mistake people make is they're like, I'm going to learn tool A, right? Like, for example, oh, I'm going to learn Blender to do 3D. But then they realized the actual thing that they wanted to do was 3D print a vase or something, right? But they spend so much time here that they never get to what was the purpose, like actually using it for something. So, my suggestion, don't learn tools and then figure out, this kind of thing. It's usually better to do this the other way around. Find stuff that you're excited to do, right? Like, oh, I'm really excited about this. For example, let's see. Coming from Angad here. What's up, Angad? Trainer ID cards, right? You're like, yo, I want to make fucking Pokemon cards. Like, I want to make a trainer card for me that has my entire party on it. And I want to give this to people. Now, it doesn't start with, oh, I'm going to learn Photoshop or whatever. It starts with this, where you're like, oh, I want to do this. That would be so cool. And you also want to do it because you're like, oh, I'm going to show this to my friends. And they're going to be like, yo, that's cool. That's a cool concept. Can you make one for me? And then you have something to do together. And then together you can create stuff, right? That's exciting. That's exciting. And then the tool becomes kind of a thing where you're like, oh, I'm going to go figure it out. Why? Because you don't need to motivate yourself to learn the tool. You're motivated by the thing you want to create. You're motivated by the change you want to bring, right? And so that just pulls you forward automatically, right? Makes sense, folks? Because here's the other thing, right? As a self learner, sometimes it feels like walking an empty ground where no point to reach is visible. That's usually because there's an endless possibilities out there, right? You could do anything, you could learn anything, you could become anything. But what is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to make? What is it that you want to become? Once you have that in place, right? This future point, that future point becomes a magnet that kind of wants to attract you there. You're like, oh, I'm going to figure out the stuff on the way. Let's jump back here. So, folks, in terms of milestones, of course, this is not an official UI UX design roadmap video. I've already made one of those and it's got like more than 100,000 views. You can go check that if you really want a more breakdown into that. This is more of how do you keep yourself on track, right? The thing about demotivation that we were all talking about, milestones is a way to check, am I making progress? If you're going somewhere, you check the milestones to see, hey, how far am I? Have I reached this place yet, right? Am I making progress? That's what milestones are about. So, folks, getting demotivated, think about what your milestones are, right? And granular milestones, I want to make this happen. Now, guys, here's the other downside of being a creative person. We want everything. We want everything. Like, dude, I want to design the clothes I wear, okay? And then I do it, and then I realize, wow, I just spent 3 months doing this thing, and I spent all that time that I could be doing something else. I didn't design this, by the way. I'm just giving an example. A big downside of being a creative, which is like, yeah, we want to do everything. We want to make everything. Like, talking about this idea of environment, here's the fun part, okay? Talking about this. Once you realize that you can change something in your environment, like literally, folks, a very small one, okay, for you guys, is your space. Let's say you have your room or something, right? Maybe you live with your parents, maybe you're in the hostel, maybe you just moved into a place, whatever it might be. What are the posters on your wall? Really, what are the posters on your wall? You see this right here? I've got zero posters on this wall. And as a creative person, I'm like, oh, let's change this. Let's put some cool background right here. I really want to make that happen. I really don't have the time to do it though. So I'll get to it soon, right? Today, just before I started the stream, I was like, it's looking a bit jail cell. Let me add a plant here. Right? That was just the quickest thing. I just picked it up and put it here. But this here, what am I going to put? It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while to think about. I'll try it. It's probably not going to look good. I have to go get things printed. I have to make stuff to frame it, put it here. Maybe I want to put shelves so I can put books or something here. Possibilities are endless, right? Now, I'm not demotivated by it. It's just, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. Okay. Oh, I like this one as well. Joy's like, I started with designing because I wanted to make a zombie portrait of myself to set as a profile picture. Yeah, bro. Yeah. You know how I don't know if you guys know this. Like on Facebook, there are these edits people make of like themselves as superheroes and things like that. That's a huge motivator for people to learn these. Like literally today now people edit it on these phones, right? Like they want to make a hard edit of themselves next to their bike or something. They didn't start making those reels because they wanted to learn the tool and become a video editor. They're like, bro, must lagega. Like I want to make a reel where I look cool to my friends. I can post this on Facebook. And then now you're motivated to go figure out how to make it happen, right? I hope you guys are getting this idea. Here's the other thing. Now, it feels like I might be ranting a little bit, like I'm just like going all over the place. But here's the thing, guys. This is like a pure non-chat GPT thing, right? You ask chat GPT, it's gonna give you, oh, do this, oh, do this, oh, do this. It's not that. It's not like, oh, set a routine, do this. Yeah, that is how it is. But guys, as a creative, the best motivation is I want to make something happen. I want to really make something happen. And once I figure out what that is, I'll figure out the steps. I'll reverse engineer and try to do it. The first thing I do, we're not going to be good, but I'll try 2, 3 times and then I get it. And now, if you're able to actually follow your curiosity, you know how people say, follow your passions, follow your curiosity. Absolutely true. I thought it was just a buzzword. People are like, oh, follow your passion, follow your curiosity. You know, just to give I keep getting into tangents. Um, okay, I'll talk about it later, right? I did a video on Varun Maya's channel where we reviewed Pajama Profit, the book, after 5 years, 7 years of writing it. And one of the things we disagreed on, we were like, yo, we were so wrong back then. Is you're like, passion doesn't matter. Just go do the damn thing. And then as you do it, you get better at it. Now, though, I realize your passion is super important. Why? It's because if you're curious about something, you go learn more, and then you're like, yo, fuck, like that's so crazy. And then you have some conversations, and people might hype you up or they might introduce you to something new. And then I'm not saying that's your passion, right? Like, I think the problem with passion is we're like, yo, like my passion is music. And then you tell your mom, your dad that, and they're like, oh, you want to be a musician, huh? You want to be a struggling actor? No, no, no. Guys, this word passion, right? Let's not get stuck on this word. It's your curiosity. You follow it. It leads you to certain directions. You discover something about the world. You discover certain things. And then you feel like making something. Why? Because you want to, this thing that you were curious about, you went and discovered it. Now you want to share this with other people because you're like, yo, wouldn't it be cool if other people also knew about this? This is so cool. And then you share, to share it with other people, you have to create something, right? Like, even if you want to share it over WhatsApp, you have to create a message to send it to them, right? Folks, I know this is getting a little maybe non-structured, but then, yo, this is not chat GPT. You're curious about something, it leads you to a discovery. Now you kind of go deep into a rabbit hole, you figure that out, you build your references, right? People talk about the value of taste in design. Now I know I'm taking the most tangential tangents, okay? But a lot of taste in design, or your taste as a designer, like, oh, they've got good taste in dressing, like they dress well, or they've got good taste in, whatever. A lot of it comes from the references you have. And how do you get references? You follow your curiosity. You go find things you're curious about, right? And so, personally, I don't like the word passion. It kind of implies there's like one singular passion or something, and it's kind of like some mission or something like that. But it's more like following your curiosity, okay? And the reason I was talking about all this is, once you realize, right? Like, my suggestion to those of you who have blank walls, now I know I've got a blank wall as well. Today, put some posters on your wall, okay? Why? It's because you just realizing that you can change your environment, not just intellectually, actually doing something and your environment changes. Like, now suddenly every day you're looking at something on your wall. Like, it might just be a sticky note, okay? But posters, I like posters because you can also design your own posters. You realize that, hey, if I can change one thing in my environment, I can probably also change the second thing in my environment, right? And then you realize, oh, I can also change the third thing, which is I can now, you know, find new people to connect with. And that's a part of my environment now. Or I can go to new places. And this new place that I go to, it has a certain influence on me. And then it's like, oh, I changed my environment by going to new places. And this realization snowballs, because the more you change your environment, the more you realize, wait, I don't have to be at the cause of the environment having influence on me. I can flip this around and I can actually influence my environment to become what I want to become. Right? You're here, and whatever this future looks like. So, folks, bit abstract, but now let's jump back in here. All these things we're talking about, it comes down to the creative mindset. It's realizing that change is possible. Change your environment. And guys, change your environment. I'm not saying like go get an apartment and like move away from your parents. If you think you need to do that, sure. I'm not even saying move cities, right? Like, I think a lot of you should be in Bangalore, like selfish reason. Not even saying that, right? I'm saying, if you think you're demotivated, you're stuck in a rut, go work from a cafe once a week, twice a week. Go to a cafe you've never gone to before. Order something you've never ordered before. Eat something that's new to you. But make the decision to do it, right? Don't go with the flow of other people, right? Do something new. You realize, hey, I did this. It was cool. I got to do something new, right? Whatever that is. Like, I'll put this under seek novelty, right? Seek something new. Literally go to a new place you've never been to, order something you've never had, have a beverage that you've never had before, DM a person you've never spoken to before. All that is like a little bit more IRL stuff, right? But make something you've never made before, right? So I'll say follow curiosity, fall down rabbit holes. You guys know what a rabbit hole is, right? Like it's like you find something and you're like, yo, that's so interesting. Like, oh, that's so interesting. Like, um, after World War II, why why did the Germans send an entire operation to Antarctica? That's so interesting. And then you start reading about it and you're like, huh, Operation Paperclip. Okay, cool. So a lot of these folks went to the US. The US did a recruitment thing. And then 4 hours later, you're reading about how the Nazis have a secret base in Antarctica and that there are pyramids on Antarctica, and like the whole government, the all world governments have a plan to not let you find out the real truth about Antarctica. That's a rabbit hole. Okay. I hope you understand what I meant. That's a rabbit hole. Now, not all rabbit holes are of that flavor, the conspiracy flavor, but some rabbit holes are. Okay. But that is so important as a designer. Okay. Not the idea of looking, not the idea of conspiracy theories. It's so important as a designer to seek novelty, right? The more your life is the same, the more you start feeling like, oh, maybe change is not possible. Here, this thing right here. The more things stay the same, the more you assume, oh, that's how things always have been. That's how things always will be. And then, you know what happens? You get stuck here, right here. Making sense, guys? Yeah. Okay. Creative mindset. The more you do this, the more comfortable you feel following your curiosity, because you realize, hey, the thing is change. The default change feels scary because as humans, we are scared of the unknown, right? Straight up scared of the unknown. But the more rabbit holes you go down, you're like, hey, maybe it's not that scary. Like it was kind of interesting. Like at some point, I had an existential crisis. But then, I was like, oh, like that's not so bad. Like it reinforces this loop, right? You feel more confident about following your curiosity. The more you realize change is fun. Change is fun. Because if things were the same, I would stay stuck. And even if things are awesome, couldn't they be better? The more you follow curiosity, now also, the more confidence you get to actually change your environment. Right? The reason we might not want to change our environment is because usually we're comfortable, right? Let me tell you, last 4 years, not to say I was like chilling 100% or something, it was comfy. And I realized, hey, I'm missing out on a lot. All my friends were doing cool stuff. I want to know about that. Like, I want to talk to them about it. I want to mastermind some shit, right? I want to mastermind some shit, make some shit happen. But it reinforces this, it gives you the confidence to actually change more environment. And then you realize you want to, okay, let's go this direction. You want to make something. And when I say make something, it follows from I want to change something and then you want to make something. And then once you do it, you realize, wow, harder than I thought. But then, folks, abstract, but you're getting it, right? Where we are right now, let's zoom out for a sec. We're here, okay? how to transition to design while you are in a 9 to 5 job or you're in college. I was in computer science and I realized, yo, shit, I didn't even know I could enroll in design school because I was like, I don't really want to, I want to do computers. It's so fun. And then later I was like, yo, I got to figure out a way to transition, right? This was when I was figuring things out in college. Still figuring things out though. Makes sense so far, folks, right? Those of you who want to transition to design, 9 to 5 job from college, making sense so far? Because this is not your traditional roadmap video, right? Something we talked about earlier is the reality of roadmaps. They kind of present this linear path that you can just kind of do. But in reality, it's more like this. It's more like this messy middle that you might be in. Okay, let's move a little forward. The move, the network, the move, I'm going to call it um, leap of faith. The network, I'm going to call it, let's say, squad and social motivation. Guys, do you know what social motivation is? We'll get to that in a sec. Very powerful, okay? Social motivation. I thought I was, I thought I was productive and I realized, actually it was just because I was socially motivated. The people around me were doing cool stuff. And so I felt like I needed to up my game. And suddenly there's no people around me. And I'm like, why bother? Social motivation. Okay, we'll get to that. And your first job, which is kind of, um, leap of faith, and I'll say paths forward. Your first job, it's kind of validation, but it's also kind of runway, right? So runway to keep going, and of course, um, earn the living doing what earn the living following your rabbit holes, curiosities, making stuff. So let's talk about these things, guys. The move, the network, first paths, the jump, the network, and the ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. Following along, guys. Should we keep moving? Okay. I wanted to cover a lot more today, but I'm realizing that, unpacking things takes time. So I'm already thinking about what to talk about in my next stream. Let's talk about these though, right? The jump. Now, guys, at some point, you have to realize that mm, a lot of creativity is about taking leaps of faith. If I want to make something happen, I don't know if I can do it, but I try anyways while risking failure, right? That's a leap of faith. I'll give you an example, okay? Um, about a few months ago, or a few weeks ago actually, we did our first IRL designathon. Okay. We did an IRL designathon and it was like really fucking dope. Some of you were there and you know what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm talking about this, of course. This is what I'm talking about. You know what it is, folks? Anyways, we wanted to do a designathon. We had for about 300 to 500 people. Guys, for somebody who's never organized a designathon, a hackathon before, to just be like, yo, let's do a designathon. Oh, how many people? Let's do like 300, 400. We could go up to 500. Guys, that's a leap of faith, right? Now, let me just say, it's not like I have some insane confidence or some, I mean, I'm confident, right? Why? Because I know I can probably figure it out, right? But it's a huge leap of faith. Never organized an event like this, and you're like, yo, let's do it. Let's make it happen. Why? Because it'll be cool. It'll be fun. Okay, that's just an example, right? Talking about following curiosity, seeking novelty, like, oh, let's do it because we've never done it before. And then let's go down this rabbit hole. Let's actually go design the whole thing and make it happen. So, Silicon Haldi, this was our first designathon. Yes, that's what it was. I really need to make a case study on this, like a experience design case study. Some other time though. I have a lot of things to do. You got to take a leap of faith, right? The leap of faith usually is you want to do something and you can't. Now, let's talk very specific here, since we are talking about how to transition to design with a 9 to 5 job while you're in college or in a job. Commitment. I said I'm gonna do something, and so now I have to do it. I just don't have a choice. I said I was gonna do something, and now I have to do it. It's too late to change my mind, right? That's a commitment. Now, for those of you who want to get into design, it means really, really realizing that learn the, I need to spend the time, okay? Um, Spend time to learn, to apply what I've learned, to make stuff, to fail at it, to make it again, and then you have something that kind of looks good, okay? You made something that kind of looks good, but then you're committed to do it again. But the jump that I'm talking about here, the small jump, of course, is the commitment. Guys, anything you want to do, you gotta commit, right? A side note: Bitcoin is at 100K USD. You want to get into crypto though, you have to commit. You have to put in some money. There's no point watching everybody else make money. Right? You have to commit, which means you have to spend time. Like you're like, oh, you know what? Instead of watching Netflix, I'm gonna go do that instead. You gotta learn, and then finally you gotta press the buy button. And then you're gonna lose money because it went from 100K to 102K and then went back to 98K. And you're like, fuck, I just lost some money. But you have your portfolio now. Like you got your we're talking about crypto portfolio for a sec. But guys, that was a commitment, right? Anything you want to do, you got to commit to it. And so making it as a designer, yeah, you got to commit. You got to be like, yo, at least I need to learn how to make a goddamn website. At least I got to get a little bit serious about what this whole idea of UX is, right? So, folks, making sense so far? Yeah. However, the other jump, though, the big one, of course, is quitting. Quitting your job. That's the hard one. Okay. There's another version of it, which is dropping out. Now, guys, I didn't drop out because I told my parents and they were like, shut the fuck up. I'm gonna drop out. Go finish the rest of your 2 years that you're paying this for and don't. So I was like, okay. I couldn't make that jump, the dropping out one. Quitting my job as well. I spoke to my mom and I was like, yo, I think I want to quit my job. Like, what'll you do? I'm going to do a startup. I'm going to strive. What is the startup? I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. The fuck? What the hell are you thinking about? Okay. So, point being, I don't have an answer when you should quit your job, whether you should drop out. But here's the thing: you got to make a commitment, and not a commitment in the future, a commitment in the present. Like, okay, I accept I can't drop out or I can't quit my job right now. I need my salary. I need to pay rent. But at the very least, I'm gonna commit to spend time learning what I need to, you know, following this curiosity of, hey, what exactly is out there? But that's not enough. You got to get your hands dirty, right? When I say you got to get your hands dirty, you really got to get your hands dirty. What it means is don't be a spectator, right? Actually do it. Actually do something with what you've learned. Apply that skill. Now, folks, if it's getting a little bit abstract, I will say you want a straightforward roadmap, this kind of roadmap. There's a video on my channel. Just like open a new tab and just keep that for watching after the stream. Right? It does exist, that straightforward roadmap. But right now, we're talking about the psychological roadmap, the pain and pleasure of change, the psychological roadmap. Okay. Yes, you can quit your job. Yes, you can make a commitment, but you gotta start where you are, not hope for, oh, one day if my boss lets me, environment, like, oh, if I'm able to get some free time, then I might do this, and then if I get good marks in my end sims, then I'm gonna talk to my parents and then ask me about this. Guys, you gotta change your environment. You gotta make a commitment, right? You want to do something, you make it happen. Boom. I want to do something, I want to make it happen. Boom. That's what it comes down to. Let's talk about the next thing here, network. I want to do something and I'm going to make it happen. All right. And then these people hear about it and they're like, lol, bro, boy is delusional. What are you talking about, bro? Or your parents, they're like, yo, shut the fuck up. Now, we can't just unfortunately say haters gonna hate, boom. Sometimes the haters, it's the people you love, right? And they're not hating, it's just they want the best for you. And if they feel like there is uncertainty, they want to protect you from that uncertainty. They'll be like, yo, you sure about that? You sure about that? And sometimes the sure about that is more of, bro, I'm gonna laugh at you, how delusional you are so that you don't think about bringing this up again. Okay, folks. But then there's also other people out there who are like, oh, same. Let's not be abstract, right? Let's say I want to become a designer. Hmm. So, folks, here's the thing. This concept that I was talking about, right here, which is social motivation, there's a very strong thing. Okay, it's a very strong thing. Um, Side note: I was in Copenhagen, having an awesome time. It's been 6 months. It had been 6 months since I moved, and then I hit a wall. Okay, I realized I don't feel like doing anything. Uh, Is that relatable, guys? Have you ever felt that? I don't feel like doing anything. Um, nah, it's not. It's okay. And then another month goes by, and I'm like, shit, man, I'm like falling behind on a bunch of stuff. I think I'm procrastinating, but I don't even realize what's going on. And then you realize another week goes by, and you're like, shit, dude, like I'm stuck. Like I have no motivation to do anything. And personal story, right? This actually happened to me. And not just once, it happened multiple times in the last 4 years. And I realized that I am productive not because I have something special. I realize I'm productive because it's social motivation. When you see when you see a friend do it, you're like, if he can do it, I can do it, right? We are very, very social creatures. And so this whole idea of the network, I want to just, it's not a good to have, it's almost a must have. Almost a must have, right? And not even almost, absolutely must have. Why? It's because the more of these people that you have who are doing similar stuff, you realize, yo, squad, you realize, yo, we're in this shit together. But you also realize, if they can do it, I can do it. And then when your friend does something, it motivates you to do more, right? So, folks, super important part. Anything you want to do, find other people who are doing it, like straight up. Like, these are not some productivity secrets. These are not some productivity secrets. It's just normal stuff, right? It's just what you got to do. Okay. What this practically does look like, though, um, since we are talking about design, I know I take these examples, but I just want you to connect the dots, right? I just want to connect these dots so that it sticks. Other designers follow along, and you're like, oh, if they can, I can. We have self limiting beliefs. We don't do certain things because we think we don't deserve them, or we don't know how to do them, or we think we're going to fail, and we don't try. But then you see other designers and you say, oh, if they can, we can. And here's the thing, the other people are doing the exact same thing, right? We're very mimetic creatures. We look at each other and we're like, yo, what's happening? Let's make some shit happen. This is why college is so fun. Because you're like, yo, you failed. Oh, you failed in that exam, bro. Sheesh. Sheesh, too bad. Me too. Or you're like, yo, fuck, how did you do that? You just earned, we'll talk about this next one. You just earned $100 on the internet. How the hell did you do that, bro? Can you teach me? I met this guy. He's like a trader, okay? And he's talking about his trading strategies. And I'm like, yo, dude, like I felt a bit shy in the moment, but I'm like, yo, can you teach me? Like, can you just teach me? Because you're saying all this and I'm super interested, but can you just teach me, bro? Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you do Forex trading and all this shit? And now suddenly I have a new curiosity and I want to follow that rabbit hole and I want to see where it takes me. And, something might happen. But anyway, folks, now the small note that I'll give here is this idea of an introvert. Now, guys, I don't like going out, meeting people, hundreds of, like, I don't want to. I'm an introvert myself, right? On screen, though, I get in the zone, and now I like talking about this. But firstly, I like being by myself, just doing my own thing. I'm just saying, folks, this is not about going and networking or something like that, right? It's not a thing, networking, kind of, but not exactly. It's more about having a squad, right? That's my main point here. Have a squad. Okay. Now, guys, I love this. Okay. This is one of my favorite articles. And this is so fucking dope. Just gonna show you a little bit. Okay. It's very like academic speak. Like squads have existed for thousands of years as a vital form of social and economic organization. But guys, this is so fucking true. Okay. And I don't know why it took this kind of article to make me to really drill this concept in my head, but I can't forget it now. I just can't forget it anymore. Right? Like this is a big deal to me now, which is Yeah, I didn't really need theory of the squad, but yeah, like I realized that my whole shit, my whole motivation was squad motivated because people around me did it, and then I felt like doing it. Now, is it just like, is it a negative thing? Like, oh, bro, if you're, are you gonna just do what your friends do? Not really. But certain people who are doing cool stuff, I get really motivated by that, and then I want to do the same thing, right? And then I do it, and then I figure it out, and I don't have any productivity or motivation issues because I just followed it and I just did it, and it just happened naturally. Dope article, okay? Just check this out, okay? Uh, so cool, bro. I think I should make a video just on this, okay? But I'll just scroll through. Don't really need to theorize it this much, okay? If you value community, okay, whatever. This is not my point, okay? What I wanted to show though is, guys, you won the Squirtle Squad. It all comes back to Pokemon. It's true. It all comes back to Pokemon. You gotta find your Squirtle Squad. When the whole squad is online, when they're all out there doing stuff, suddenly you're like, yo, how can I not? It's not an option to not do it, right? Motivation, yeah. I mean, how can I not be motivated? We've got matching shades, bro. We're in this together. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Now, I know a lot of this. Here's the thing, right? I'm not saying go group study or something and then, a lot of, I'll be honest, okay? A lot of the creative journey, you have to do it alone. You got to do it solo. Why? Because you got to be in the trenches, bro. You're in the trenches. Okay. You're like, bro, I don't know if I'm going to make it out of here. Like, shit is dark, shit is bleak. I don't know what's going to happen. But then suddenly you see a squad and you're like, yo, okay, cool. Anyways, dope article. These guys, they're a research group, by the way. So they publish a bunch of research articles around this kind of stuff. You want to go much deeper into stuff like this? Check it out, okay? Um, I think you'll find it interesting. Okay. So, guys, have a squad. That's my main point here. Even if it's just two, three friends in a group chat, just do it, okay? It helps. Two, three friends in a group chat, that's really sometimes all that you need. Beyond that, making your first $100 on the internet. Now, this actually happened to me. My classmate in college, he was like, yo, I just got a new freelance client and they're paying me $100. And I was like, wow, like, that's cool. Can you teach me how to do it? And then I realized it was $100 an hour. Now, of course, guys, let's just say it's not like, it was not a full-time job, right? It was like a small task or something and a couple of hours and then you're done. But point being, point being, money is good because it helps you stay motivated. And it also makes you realize that, wait, I can invest more time into this because I'm getting some return out of this. Now, okay, my suggestions on this is, of course, there is the job that you can get, right? There's jobs out there, but it requires work and struggle. Internships, great. We've already got videos on this on the channel. You can check it out. But beyond that, I would just say projects. Okay. And again, you want to figure out how to get into freelancing and all of that. I think I've already spoken about it in a bunch of videos. But I would say don't don't skip this part, right? I know it's a little weird sometimes thinking about money and what's my worth and all of this stuff, but it's worth it to figure it out, right? um, if you're able to do this, it also removes a lot of uncertainty, right? So definitely figure this out. um, there is no one way to make money. Yeah, jobs are a very standard thing that, it's a social contract that exists in the world. Awesome. But in the end, it's about this. There's you, there is something that you can create. Now, when you create this, it goes out into the world. Okay. People use it. and it creates some value, right? And then people want to pay you for it. For example, I heard this. I'm losing steam, guys. I'm going to wrap this up, okay? Very shortly. You guys get it, right? You make some stuff, you put it out in the world, you increase your surface area. A lot of this is value created that comes back, right? I'm not going to go deep into this jobs thing, already talked about in the past. But overall, folks, just zooming out now, okay? Zooming out now, this is roughly how you transition to design. But beyond that, it's how do you go from where you are now to where you would want to be. Now, folks, enough iPad, okay? Let's jump back into, we wrap up in a bit. Guys, there's so much more I want to cover today, but I guess guess we're gonna need more for that. Huh? I'm gonna read some chats now. Squirrel Squad on fire. Squads. Yeah, squads. I see a question, okay? Rida says, should beginners follow specific roadmap only or should the learning be completely subjective? See, Rida, it's a bit of both, but I'll be very specific here. Learning is not subjective. If you want to achieve a certain goal, there's certain things you need to do. For example, you want to become a UI UX designer, you need to have a portfolio of projects. For that, you need to do the projects. For that, you need to figure out what to do. For that, you need to figure out the tools you need to do. And then the whole process around that, right? So I would say specific roadmap for specific outcomes. But beyond that, the habit to get into to keep self learning going, right? Like I saw your comments about you're a self learner. You want to keep that motivation high and you want to make sure that use your time well. Getting a phone call. Okay, in a bit. Getting a phone call. Give me a sec. Let me just cancel this. Yeah. So my suggestion overall, Rida, follow your curiosity. Like that's how you get this habit of learning. Like what do I do next? Follow the curiosity, right? Follow what you want to do. For example, if you came across something interesting, you're like, you know, you came across a very cool interaction on a website or you came across something that excited you, you're like, I want to know how to make that, right? So that's how you keep the habit going in general. But if there's an outcome that you want, if the outcome is actually switching to a job, actually making a portfolio, actually designing your first website, your first app, actually learning UI UX design, then there's probably a very specific path that you need to do, and it does require that commitment and motivation to go at it. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Yeah, it's not exactly subjective. Subjective is your curiosity, the things you follow, but objective is you do need to learn Figma, you do need to learn these skills, and you need to be able to create predictable outcomes. When a client, let's just take in a scenario, when a client pays you money, let's say you're freelancing, they don't want subjectivity. They want to remove the ambiguity. They're like, make me a website and it better be good and include these things. Now, how you do that could be different, right? It's a whole process. But anyways, I hope that makes sense. It is specific outcomes that you want to be able to create consistently, right? The first time I do something, I'm like, what if it was a fluke? The second time I do something, I'm like, oh, wow, that was like, I learned something new. The third time I do it, I'm in the zone. I'm like, yo, what else can I do? The fourth time I do something, I'm like, yo, I think I can call myself somebody who can do this. The fifth time I do something, I'm like, yo, that's a skill that I now have. And I don't think I'll ever lose it. Let's figure out what's next, right? That's how typically it goes. Namaste, Mova. Sup? 10, 15, 20 minutes? Yeah. That's what I'm thinking too. 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. How to handle when you feel like overloaded with a lot of work? Bro, I'm so glad you asked me this question. Okay. Because I was in this position. You know, this week I'm a little bit more productive. I'm here on stream. I'm getting one more thing done. I was in this zone. And something, I'll be very actionable, right? I don't want to give you gyan. I'll give you something very actionable. Make lists. Make lists, which is something you have to do. Write it down. I'll tell you why, right? You might be in zone today, but then you're going to go to sleep and then you're going to wake up and then some 10 things are going to happen before you work again. And there is this context, like you can lose context. Like you might be in the zone, but you can lose the zone. And it sucks, bro. As a designer, you're in the zone, you're making stuff happen. And then the next day you wake up and you're totally out of it. And you're like, fuck, how do I get back into the zone I was in yesterday? Lists definitely helps, right? Make lists about stuff you want to get done so that the next day when you start working in the morning, you're like, okay, these are the things I need to do. Some of them I'll get done, the rest might carry on. That's my first suggestion. Also, it helps because overloaded, sometimes it's because we have a lot of things going on in our head. So putting it down really helps with, just you put it down and you're like, oh, okay, fine. I have 7 things. I mean, it seemed scary on my head, but I wrote it down. So making lists, bro, definitely do it. It sounds so simple, right? But even I forget sometimes. I'm like, bro, why haven't I made a list? Why don't I write down? Why don't I just write down the things I need to do? Make lists. Number two, write. Now, this is something that I, back in the zone, I stopped doing this for a while in between. But now I'm not saying journal, that would be way too cliche, but I'm just saying write stuff down. This thing I was talking about, context break. Like you're really in the zone today, but then you go to sleep, some other stuff happens, some kalesh at home, this, that, this, that, this, that. And then boom, the next day you're like, bro, I don't even feel like working. If you write, like you have a notebook, right? As a designer, as a creative, strongly suggest having a notebook on you. Like have an active notebook at all times, right? Like literally physical notebook, and write down every day. This is what I'm doing. This is what I need to get done. Oh, I had a meeting. This is what they said. Oh, I did this thing. This is what happened. And then a week later, you go back and you read it whenever you need to, and that helps, right? So, point is, protect your context. When you have a lot of work, the thing is, things keep coming, and then you can kind of lose track on the stuff you were supposed to do. Make lists, write down what you do every day, right? Like it's also a good habit because it kind of helps you audit, like what did I do today. Personally, I keep my just notebook open throughout the day and I just keep writing stuff in it. Just at least I get it out of my mind and it's there and I can think about it later. But bro, that's my suggestion to you. I hope you try it out and I hope it helps you. Okay. Woo. Because like, yo, I was eating biryani, but I stopped to ask this. Bro, just before the call, I was like, yo, I gotta eat lunch. And I ordered my lunch and I still haven't eaten it, right? So I'm gonna do this right after the call. It's not lunch anymore, it's kind of like a dinner. Had a breakfast and then dinner. Um the question is struggling to decide how to navigate forward. Got an ops intern role in Web3. Oh, okay, cool. Working on security stuff, and I'm in third year. So because good thing. Okay, and you have a follow-up question. And I know decent full stack development too. I've been trading since 2017. Profitable. Nice. Make algos and bots. Dope to make trading stuff. So the question is, how do you move forward? Now, because of course we talked about this thing, right? Like just to show a diagram to help you realize you figured a bunch of stuff out already, right? So you are actually on this right side. You're here in this future now. At some point you couldn't imagine yourself doing all this. Now you've done it. That's awesome. You're there right now. But this doesn't stop, right? This thing keeps going on again. So your question is how to navigate forward. Um Honestly, I don't have an answer for you, bro. Except that you seem to have found the things that you're curious about. You've had some success with it, right? You got that role. You're doing some side stuff. You're making algos, which probably, so you're making algos and bots. You're trying to automate your trading stuff. Means you're making some money, some side money, and main money. And you're making stuff, which means you're learning things in the process, right? Like you, every time you try to make something, it's like, yo, fuck, I don't know how to do that, right? Like you're doing full stack, but every once in a while you run into issues and you debug and all of this. So on the micro level, you got it going good, right? You've got this going on. My unconventional advice to you, Vikas, is what's your delusional mission? Now, this sounds like some crazy shit, right? Really, if you're here right now in this timeline, right, in this diagram that I just talked about, you got to figure out what's my next adventure? What's my next adventure? Right? You're maybe on the left side of the timeline and you're like, things are kind of good. Good thing is you're following your curiosity. But bro, here's my other see, I would say find your big thing, okay? Find something big that you're like, bro, I have to do this. Like I really have to do this. Like if I don't do this, I'm going to be disappointed in myself. Find that thing. But beyond that, you're in third year. So another positive lining I would say is the fact that you're in your third year means that you're still in college, which means your environment, you have limited control. You have to follow a timetable, you have to have certain attendance, you have to do certain things that you might not want to do, but it's a contract. You've made a commitment to do it. You're like, okay, I'll do it. I attend my classes, I'll write my exams. So you have limited control over your environment. What I would say that the next thing you have to look forward to is, bro, finishing college. Like I'll tell you, when I finished college, and I was every single day coming closer to ending college, I was like, bro, I'm like, I need to make this shit happen. Like I was change. It was not scary back then. It was like so exciting. It was like, bro, I think it'll be whatever I do. I think I'll do better than college. It'll be more fun than college, right? So anyway, that's my long answer to you, bro. Um, what to deep dive into? The thing is, you can do a lot, bro. But like you're saying, 3D web development, great. Okay. Uh, my suggestion though, that now that you have a lot of that stuff figured out, you will soon be in a place where you can change your environment even crazier, right? Like when you finish college, you can decide, for example, should I move back home or should I move to a new city, right? So environmental changes coming up. Start thinking about these big changes. Where do you want to live? Who do you want to who do you want to be around? How do you want your life to be? You will have a chance to design your life fully soon, right? Even more than right now. Beyond that, though, my suggestion, think about some crazy milestone in the future that you want to get to, right? That will pull you forward. So that's one suggestion here. uh, Tools you want to learn, where you want to spend your time, I think you have a good idea of that. That's cool. Beyond that though, I would say network is probably something you can start thinking about, which is, if you do want to, for example, move to Bangalore, let's just say, taking an example, it would help if you knew other people in Bangalore already, because then you can kind of start doing some research and you can get some suggestions from them and you can find out very practical things like how much is rent and how will I figure out food. And then at least you start visualizing the future instead of it being far away and uncertain. So I would say the network thing, and I don't like using the word network because it sounds so abstract. I would say find people who are on a similar journey as you, or the things you're doing right now. Find somebody who's doing that but 2 3 steps ahead and figure that out, right? Guys, I could keep going. Okay. Reshma says, should I join a startup where I'm the only designer? I'm not ready for it yet, so I have to upskill side by side. Or should I drop it and upskill first and then apply for jobs? Reshma, thank you for asking this question, because I'm sure there's a bunch of people watching this who are in a very similar scenario. Um, my suggestion, okay, you're on the stream right now. Goodbye. Yeah, I'll call you back. Bye. Phone call. Okay, I'm back. Um, phone call. Sorry. So, Reshma, I've been in that scenario, right? So, when I was in my fourth year of college, I was, of course, still learning stuff. I was doing some freelancing, but I had the chance to join a very early stage startup as the first designer. They had two developers, one founder, and they wanted to get me on board as a designer. I'll give you my suggestion on this, okay? It's okay if you're not ready for it. We're never ready for it, right? Okay, no examples, specifics. My suggestion, Reshma, is my suggestion to you is out of all the possibilities that you have, think about which seems the most exciting. Because joining a new startup means you start making some money. It means your schedule of what to study next, what should I get better at, somebody else is figuring that out, right? Like your boss is going to assign you work and you're going to have to go figure out how to do it, which means you don't have to be the one figuring out what should I do, right? Self learning. Somebody else will help figure out what you should learn next. So a job can get you those benefits. Number one, schedule. Number two, a boss who can tell you what to do next. Number three, some money coming in. Number four, some commitment, right? Like you have a thing you can commit to that you can go all in on. The other side of this, though, which is your other path, is you don't make money from that job. Upskill first, yes, great, you can do it. But you have to figure out what to do and you have to go through that messy middle of, keeping yourself motivated. You can do it, not a problem. And then apply for jobs. The thing is, I would say you should take it. My suggestion, my personal suggestion, I think you should take it. Right? If everything else is good, like red flags or something, I think you should take it. And see, one thing that stops people from taking this is the commitment of it, which is, oh, if I commit to this, I can't do a lot of other things. Right? It's a bit of a sacrifice. To do this, I have to say no to other things. So commitment. But how much of a commitment, right? Like joining a company, it might feel like, for example, bro, misinformation, okay? People are like, yo, if I join a company and then I leave within 6 months, let's say, it's going to look bad on my resume. Now, it's true to some extent, a little bit. But the point is, you would rather try, even if you have to leave in a while, like 3 months, 6 months, who knows how it's going to go. At least you get something out of it, right? You get the money. You meet some people every day. You're going to go talk to them. You're going to brainstorm. You're going to discuss. They're going to give you some tasks. You're going to try. You're going to figure it out. My suggestion, definitely the first option. I would suggest that, right? I think hands-on experience with other people around you also figuring out their own stuff. I would say that's the best experience. Um, that's my suggestion. Okay, but think about the specifics. Um, and yeah, best of luck with that. You're welcome, bro. I'm very happy I got to do this today. Been a while for me since I did this. By squad, can it be a Discord group of fellows having similar goal but living in different countries? Yeah, could. Um, Definitely in person helps. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times you don't have that option, right? Like I did my college in Manipal. Other than the students in Manipal, in the colleges in Manipal, there's no other people around. But I had a bunch of people on the internet that I would look at their work. I would try to chat with them. I would try to see what they were doing, try to understand why they're doing that. This is good, right? So, in fact, I would say, talking about this environment idea, If you can't change your physical environment, you can definitely change your digital environment. It's much easier to do that, right? So, for example, if you're on YouTube and you keep getting distracted, you can say, don't show me this, don't recommend this channel. You're controlling your environment, or spending time in that Discord, and you get to learn some stuff. That's awesome. That's nice. It's good. But I would say smaller groups and bigger groups, there's benefits to both, right? So big group, you get to see what everybody's doing. You get the benefit of this extended network. A small group, you get to feel like, oh, like it's just more of an intimacy, right? It's like everything you say, everybody's going to read it. And it's fun to form subgroups. So I would say do that, right? Especially um, based on the kind of outcome you guys are trying to get. Yeah. Yo, future exotica. I see a question. Third year engineering, no interest in coding, but I love design. I want to make my future in UI UX design. Should I drop out engineering or engineering matters? Um, bro, I don't think you should, because see, I can't say. I don't know the full details. But my suggestion, just for your parents, it's one more year. That's exactly what my parents said to me. I wanted to drop out in third year as well, by the way. The other question I saw from you is, will UI UX be there after 10 years also? The thing is, it might not be called UI UX, but the core principles of designing digital products, the digital world is not going anywhere, right? So the core principles of designing digital products, it's definitely going to stay, right? Maybe it might not be websites and apps. Maybe it might be AI chatbots, or it might be like metaverse experiences, or I don't know. It can be different things, right? But when people say design, will it be relevant, bro? Will change be relevant? Will people want to change stuff? Will they want to make new things? Businesses, they're not going to be okay with what they have. They want to make new stuff so that they can get more users, so that they can make more money, so that you know that engine of capitalism is running. So will UI UX design be there? Yes, it will. Will it look the same? No, it won't. But we can't live in the future. We can only live in the present. And so your question around this, I would say, bro, just to switch back to that diagram for a sec, follow your interest. Okay. The good thing is you're in college, which means you do probably have some free time to use. You will have to sacrifice some of this. But to me, just mm, talking about that, I feel like you're maybe here at this. Okay. Highlight this right here. Make some commitment. That's my suggestion, right? I'm not saying you need to enroll 10K designers cohort, although if you want to, applications are open. I would say make a small commitment first, which is, at least, bro, do what you've never done before, right? You have the curiosity, which means I would say go learn something, go try to make something. Um, that would be my suggestion. In terms of network, the fact that you're in college, there's probably other people who want to do it. Now, maybe you don't like your classmates or whatever, you don't want to talk to them, that's fine. But then you can all probably find people on the internet, right? People who are doing something similar. But your question was specific to should I drop out? I don't think so. I think a dropout is a big step. I think you should figure out how to make it happen first. After that, if you feel like, bro, I think I'm ready, then figure it out. Yeah. I think you'll know. I think you will know when it's like, oh, I just can't do this anymore. Yeah. At least that's what I think so. Yeah. Vishesh said, don't you think joining early stage startups kind of helps if you're transitioning to design specifically? Because you're not only going to learn the design, but also the business. Definitely helps. The another way I would phrase this is joining a big company versus joining a startup. A big company you might join as designer number 25. Now, as designer number 25, you're the latest person to join. You're not gonna get the cool projects. You're not gonna get the very high, crazy impact, high visibility projects, right? You're going to have to work your way up. Even after you made it inside a company, there's a certain ladder you will have to climb to be able to get that responsibility. You have to prove yourself. Now, on a small startup, yes, you still have to prove yourself in the interview and get in. But usually in a small startup, let's say you're the designer number two, designer number three, you get to see everything that's happening. And the more early it is, you get to design everything. So the company is working on their homepage, boom, you will get to design their homepage, right? The highest visibility. They're designing the first version of their app, you will get to design it. Versus 5, 6 years later, when you join as designer number 25, you'll get to design one feature on one page on the iOS app, right? So definitely helps. I think there's definitely early stage exciting time, right? Personally, I love early stage. It's just so much fun. Uncertainty, yeah. So fun though. Glad that helped because think about it. Think about it. Whew. Enjoying the stream with the 10K squad. Absolutely. I feel like my speed of learning is slow. World is getting very fast. What should I do? I know. I know. Um, I moved to Bangalore, and it seems like every day here is an entire week. It feels like every week here is an entire month. It feels like everybody's doing stuff but me. I'm not just making this shit up. I feel that, okay? Um, my something I found, I'll just be very honest, right? Something I found recently that helps is I try not to, like, I try a little bit to be in my own bubble, little bit, rather than expose myself to Twitter and what's happening in the world. Um, One of the reasons I said have a notebook and write stuff is so that you can, instead of browsing the global feed, you're browsing your feed, right? You're browsing your feed, and then you suddenly realize, wait, what's the rush? Like I am doing a lot of stuff. It's just I'm not comparing myself to everybody out there, right? That's my suggestion. I'll say be in a bit of a bubble. It's good to do that. Mm, one more thing I wanted to say on this though: don't be rushed. Do things at your own pace. Um, but I'm forgetting, bro. I had something in mind. Yeah, I hope that helped, Rida. Personally, you can't slow the world down. At the same time, you can't like keep comparing to external standards, and so kind of be in your zone, be in your own zone, and compare yourself to yourself a little bit more. Yeah. Yo, okay, let's get the Bangalore propaganda going, guys. You're a designer, you should move to Bangalore. Straight up. You're watching this right now, move to Bangalore. Bro, come live in HSR, like get a PG here, right? And if you're on 10K, bro, you're gonna have this clubhouse soon, okay? We're still figuring it out. Um, do it. If you can, do it. Good point, Joy. Which is technically we are in the peak, in some ways, peak UI UX design, but the roles have constantly been changing, right? Like there were things like this. So Joy says he interned at a factory back in 2012. They had an engineer who designed control room buttons. Yeah, I mean that was an interface. There's an interface. There's a human operator, and then there's a machine, right? So is that UX? UX is the user, the experience they have. Now, HCI, human computer interaction. I'm not trying to mansplain you, Joy, just adding context. Human computer interaction, yes, there's computers, there's systems. Humans need to interact with it. In fact, folks, a lot of um, this book I'm forgetting the name of. I'll start sharing some book recommendations of future streams. And they were talking about how the need for UX as a separate field, a lot of it came from this push of normal everyday users had to interact with machines more and more in their daily life. And so in the past, some engineer at a factory would be trained for 6 months, and then they would know exactly how to, you know, work the machine. But then as technology became a bigger part of our lives, we had to make it more understandable without 6 months training immediately for people. Now, for those of you who are thinking about UX in the future, guys, do you think the amount of technology in our lives overall goes up or does it go down? Think about that. Because to me, the answer is very clear, very, very clear, no doubt in my mind. And so, as there is more technology in the world, as the amount of interaction between humans and systems increases, yes, there's going to be people who need to bridge that gap. And so, UX might not stay the same, but it doesn't go away. Definitely doesn't go away as long as technology doesn't go away. And even if technology goes away, bro, let's say there's some solar flare and some shit and like all technology is over, experiences don't go away, right? You'll still have to have products that you use. You will still need to organize an experience for somebody. You will still need to have some amount of commerce, right? We might go to offline experience design and offline UX rather than online UX, but it doesn't go away. No, no, not at all, never, right? It's just we have to keep adjusting. Unfortunately, we will be obsolete if a huge change happens. We'll figure it out though. Right? That's how it's always been throughout history. Bro, don't say that, bro. Although, yo, what's up, Shalia? Last year, okay, nice. Want to create my current UX. Currently doing 100 days UI challenge to make it a part of my life. Okay, you've got something regularly going. How to navigate? My suggestion, Shalia, is now that you're exiting, like you're about to leave college and enter into a new environment, think about where you want to be, the people you want to be with, and who you want to be, right? So when I say who, it's kind of self-explanatory though. Where do you want to be? Do you want to be working at home freelancing, doing stuff online? You want to move to a new place? Who do you want to be? Do you want to be an intern somewhere? You want to join at a company? You can figure out what's needed to do that, right? There's some roadmap. There's a UX roadmap video on my channel as well. Who you want to be with? What kind of people you want to work with? You want to work with a startup crowd? You want to work with a corporate crowd? You want to be more, let's say, online in Web3 spaces, things like that. Um, it's good that you have some progress though. You have something going on. Keep that up. But find out what that next milestone is for you and work towards that. Um, Cohort might be a good fit for you. Cohort 10 applications are open. Definitely check that out. See if it's interesting. Indiranagar is fine. Moving to Bangalore, yeah, Indiranagar is all good. It's just that it's the bougie place. Indiranagar has become the bougie place now. Like the only startups in Indiranagar, actually, it's Cred and Sequoia, I think. Yeah, that Indiranagar is a little bit more of the shopping place now. It's nice. It's a posh neighborhood. Personally, I'm a little bit more HSR now. That's my. I like that. Yeah. Is it possible to be in a good product company without actual experience early stage? Now, I think hard question. Okay, really, like hard hitting. Why? Because like I'll give you an example. Right now, as part of my everyday work, I see design JDs, like job descriptions, hiring almost every single day, right? Or at least multiple times a week. Very recently, I was looking at this startup. I think they're Series A now in finance, and they were hiring a designer with 1 to 3 year of experience, so big range. And I think the salary was up to 27 lakhs per annum. And so I was like, yo, I mean, that what? Big range, right? But point I'm trying to make, one of the things they said in that is you must have prior product experience. So even it's 1 to 3, but you must have product experience. And they had some requirements, right? So they were like, we actually prefer if they worked in a company and not just freelance, right? They wanted a little bit of that. They were like, we want somebody with some startup experience, so not just pure MNCs. And agency experience is okay, but we would still prefer startup experience. So every company has this set of internal criteria, And here's the thing, the good news is this criteria is not fixed, right? It changes every role. So if they hire few times a quarter or every other quarter, the criteria keeps changing. So it's not a disqualifier like in long term, right? You'll figure out the fit. But good product company without actual experience, no, you need some experience. And even if it's not at, see, you got to start somewhere, right? So even if it's a bad product company, that's okay, because a bad product company is still, you learn a lot of things. You learn how to not do things, right? Without actual experience, though, here's the thing, there is a market for junior designers, right? Although it keeps going up and down, people do prefer hiring senior folks if they do have the budget for it. But my suggestion is get some experience, even if it's not the exact experience, right? So um, prove that you can do the work of a designer. Number one, let's just say a designer comes to office, they work, maybe a 9 to 5, but like let's say 5 hours a day, and they produce some output, and every week they create something new. Like that's a designer maybe in a good product company or even an average product company. Can you do that? Do you have the commitment to actually learn something and do it, you know, 30 hours, 40 hours a week? Have you proven that you have that commitment? Like maybe through your solo projects that you've done? Or another way you can think about it is, do you have the hunger to do it? Now, the reason I'm telling you all these things is because, we talked about earlier in the stream. I don't know if you were there. We talked about early stage versus huge. Right now, a huge company, you might join as designer number 25, and they have standards based on the other 24 designers. And so you make your way through the interview process, but then you're not going to get very important projects. You have to work your way up in the company. Early stage startups, though, they might not have a crazy budget to hire a lot of designers, but they hire a lot of early stage designers. And these good products, they might not be good in the sense that they've not made it yet, but you get to join that climb, right? So that's my kind of little bit nuanced answer. It is possible. To give you an example, back in 2015, like my first full-time design job, I got at housing.com in Bombay. Now they had already 40 designers and they hired me, pretty good salary. The only experience I had though was freelancing, but they were okay with that. They're like, bro, you've at least done something and we see your work. It looks good. And the rest of it, I think you can figure out on the job. And the rest of our designers, the people you work with, they'll teach you the rest. So definitely possible. Some experience needed though, right? You have to show that proof of commitment that you've committed to this role. You're not just a tourist, you know, and you have to prove that you've created something. Yeah. I hope that answers, I think. Wow, you have a lot of questions. I'm gonna go in order. Mm. What's up, Wakar? So, new design tools and trends. How do you keep how do you keep the course fresh and relevant? You have a secret formula balancing timeless and design principle. Okay. How do I keep the course relevant? The good thing is, since we have a live course, right? So most of the like the cohort, the 10K designers cohort, it's live. So 2 times a week, you're gonna be um, I mean, Wakar, you've already been through the cohort, but for everybody else, 2 times a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, you're gonna meet me with. I actually teach the cohort, right? I've not outsourced the teaching to somebody else or something. I still teach the cohort because I like doing that. That's very satisfying for me, and I get better at it. Um, how do I keep the course fresh? See, the thing is, new design tools. It's almost like this, right? A new design tool. It's still very early in the adoption curve, but someday it could be huge, right? Like Figma way back, nobody used it. But now Figma is the primary tool. So new tools, I try to spend a little bit of time staying updated, but very little, right? So I don't spend most of my time chasing trends and tools. I spend maybe 5% of my time, a little bit. The rest of it though, how do we keep it relevant? Since it's a live course, we don't have a fixed, like, we don't have one syllabus that we need to rugado for the next 5 years, 10 years, right? We keep updating it with new examples. And the thing is, there is a certain thing as craft, like your hands on skill at using the tool and creating something. The thing with craft is you have to little bit be obsessed about doing things you've not done before and creating something you've not created before. So craft is just about locking in and trying stuff out. New tools, it's a small thing, right? It's like you don't want to invest in the risky thing. You are like, okay, I'll try it out just to get some exposure. So the secret formula, you know, the new stuff, the stuff that's on the edge, small amount of time. The craft, your core, this thing, most amount of time. And then as you do this, like as you get the benefit of time, like you've been doing it for a year, 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, you realize automatically this stuff stays the same and this stuff is the stuff that's dynamic. So me as somebody with, you know, 10 plus years of experience teaching the cohort, I can tell you what has been true on when I was a designer 10 years ago is still true today. I know what those things are because they didn't change. But then there's a lot of things which I used to do back then which I don't anymore. And so I know that that was okay, it was maybe a time thing or it was a trend. And now that trend has expired. That's my overall suggestion. Hope that helps. Okay. So this person home is like, I work in a non-design role. I love design. I freelance in college, but it's hard to leave my current role and in Bangalore. My suggestion, bro, um, try to talk to the designers in your company and spend some time with them on a regular basis. Right? Try to get friendly with them. Try to spend some time with them. Now, it might not be possible like an hour a day, 2 hours a day, not that kind of thing, but have conversation about what are they doing, understand what their work is like. So that is my suggestion, right? You're somebody who's already in a company which has designers. That's a massive advantage. They're in your office every day, right? Talk to them, get a more understanding of what does their day to day look like. That'll give you a perspective on how you might be able to someday do it or whether you even want to do it. You don't need to leave your current role. I would say make the most of your current role, which is the people that you have already there. Besides that, the rest of your time, the non-work time, you can definitely spend it um, immersing yourself more into design, right? In your company, your non-design role, you have to do what your role is, right? You can't, yeah, you could ask the company, can you give me some design tasks? But they're like, no, we hired you for something else. But in your off time, when you're at home, you can do whatever design task you want, right? So that would be my suggestion. Make the most of your company, talk to the designers there, learn what their work looks like, and then in your own time try to do some stuff on your own, right? Make a commitment. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make my first website. I'm going to make my app. Bro, you could enroll in the cohort too if you really wanted to, right? Although that's a much bigger commitment because it's 4 months. You have to show up, Wednesdays, Saturdays, you have to do the assignments. 4 months, that's like one third of a year, right? So that's a sizable commitment. But the good thing is you're in a good place. It seems like it's a good environment. So I think you can figure it out. Yeah. Best luck with that. Yo, hurry. Future where AI agents. Um, yo, guys, I think my camera's out of battery. Guys, I think my camera ran out of battery. So I think I might have to close this. Shit. I got a notification. Didn't see it. Okay, folks. I think I'm going to have to go. Okay. Um, hurry. Will we even need interfaces or will be the same? The thing is, I don't know what the interface is going to look like. I don't see. It will stay the same to some extent. That's what I'll say, right? So, for example, 20 years ago, people were designing dashboards, they were designing websites, they were not making apps back then. but they were designing dashboard websites, desktop applications. They're still doing that today. It's just that most people today interact with apps on their phone rather than desktop, right? The people have shifted to new platforms. So a good chunk of it will stay the same, right? We're not going to have a future without phones. But if you want to be on the edge, the new stuff, then definitely you can position yourself as such. Yeah. Question: does the 10K cohort work for people currently juggling a 9 to 6? 9 to 6. So the Wednesday session happens at 7 o'clock, right? So that's the very actionable thing I would say. Beyond that, yes, we have people who do it alongside their job, but the limiting factor of time would be you would have to spend at least um, so I'll give you the breakdown, right? 6 hours a week just to attend the sessions, another 6 to 10 hours to practice, work on stuff and the assignments. So overall, you're looking at maybe around between 10 to 20 hours. Of course, like working on stuff, which includes the classes. One thing I can tell you though is I'll just be honest, right? There are people who do it and then after a month they realize, bro, I don't have the time. And so what they do is they say, I'm going to defer. So they're like, hey, I'm going to drop out of this one and I'll join the next one. And now they've experienced the cohort. They know what exactly needs to change. I need to talk to my manager, do this. And they end up joining the next cohort, right? So that's also a possibility. In the end, see, we also allow that, right? We're like, if something happens like family emergency or like work, you're not able to do it, you can defer and join the next one, right? We'll just transfer your spot to the next cohort. So yeah, it's a lot of management. You do have to make that figure out how to do it, but possible. Yeah. Okay, guys. So um, I'm gonna wrap up. Thanks a lot for attending this session. I hope to get active on YouTube again. Okay, like it's not easy for me for whatever reason, just being consistent on YouTube, but I enjoy it, and I want to do more of it, and so I'm gonna try to make it happen. Um, Thank you all for sticking through. We did an amazing stream today. If you or someone you know wants to start 2025 like full on commit to becoming a designer and they want to be a part of the cohort experience, bro, even more so if you're in Bangalore, because you can actually attend the physical events and the mentors. Let me not reveal everything. You can also attend like the alumni activity, right? And past alumni are also going to be invited to this future stuff, right? We actually now have a proper studio office in Bangalore. Anyway, if you or a friend is interested, applications are open. You can check it out. It's on the website. Um, yeah, I'll see you on the next stream. Okay. See ya. Bye bye.